Now it's my turn. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stefan Eriksson. I'm the director of the Nordic Council of Ministers office here in Latvia. I've been asked to shortly introduce this panel, this session, organized on behalf of the Nordic Council of Ministers, one of the strategic partners of the 5G Techritory Forum. For the 5th year in a row, we have been a partner and supporter of this forum. The Nordic Council of Ministers opened its office in Riga back in 1991 and has since then worked to bring Latvia and the Baltics closer to each other through supporting Nordic Baltic cooperation, activities, mobilities in all areas of mutual interest. Against the backdrop of Russia's war in Ukraine, it's obvious to me that it has become even more important to strengthen all forms of regional cooperation. One area of Nordic Baltic cooperation that has been successful in recent years is in digitalization. And we are indeed proud to be able to partner with 5G Techritory to create a regional platform where 5G stakeholders from Nordic Baltic region and beyond can gather. The Nordic Baltic Ministerial Council for Digitalization was established in 2017. It facilitates intergovernmental cooperation on digital development between the Nordic and Baltic countries. And this council is actually quite unique in the sense that it includes the Baltic countries on equal footing into the Nordic family. The Nordic and Baltic ministers responsible for digital cooperation adopted a declaration called Digital North 2.1 already in 2020. This declaration underpins the Nordic Vision 2030, which has a goal to make the Nordic and the Baltic region the most sustainable and integrated region in the world. By developing and using advanced digital technologies and data in an ambitious, innovative, secure and ethical manner to tackle large societal challenges, such as the green transition and pandemics. The declaration also promotes excellent public welfare, regional mobility, sustainable growth, and the responsible use of digital technologies to strengthen the multilateral trust that exists between the countries in the region. And digitalization and the rollout of 5G is indeed crucial to obtaining these goals. In the declaration, the priorities around Nordic Baltic cooperation on 5G deployment are focused on developing new testing facilities for 5G and monitor the development of 5G application, as well as collaborating on 5G policy coordination, regulation, and innovative application. Within this context, the Nordic Baltic 5G monitoring tool project is one of the projects initiated by ministers and implemented by Nordregio under the guidance of the 5G expert group. Its main goal is to contribute to the development of a more integrated, connected and inclusive Nordic region by developing and maintaining an evidence-based analytical tool to monitor the 5G rollout in the Nordic Baltic region. During the past year, the project has been engaged in a comprehensive mapping of 5G landscape and 5G impacts in different sectors and industries, taking note of the different business opportunities as well as chances for innovation to provide citizens with better services, enhancing their quality of life and experiences. Social inclusion, urban-rural differences are crucial to take into account when discussing 5G for public services provision, and this is what this session will discuss, focusing in particular on Nordic-Baltic cross-border collaboration. But I will leave to Oskar Penje from Nordregio to tell us more about the Baltic 5G monitoring tool. Please, Oskar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. My name is Oskar Penje. I am a project manager of the 5G monitoring tool, the Nordic Baltic 5G monitoring tool. I work at Nordregio. Stefan mentioned Nordregio. It's part of the Nordic Council of Ministers family of institutes. Nordregio is a research institute focused on regional development and planning issues. I work with GIS. I'm a GIS expert. GIS, Geographical Information Systems, which means I have mapping tools as my core expertise. Which means I'm especially keen on the mapping parts of this project. The first part of the project is where we have put most of our focus up until now is developing a common Nordic Baltic 5G data collection strategy. But there are also other objectives that we would like to enhance and foster for this project. Promote joint macro-regional discussions around 5G deployment, reduce digital divides and promote 5G for all, and establish a collaborative relationship with end users. The project, an evidence-based analytical tool. What we're doing is several mapping activities. For one, it's the 5G use case mapping. It's the method of an online survey gathering information on the use cases, implemented use cases deployed on 5G technology all across the Nordic and Baltic states. And we've heard a lot about the prospects and the promise of 5G, whereas this mapping is actually using our network to map the services that are actually built on this technology, bottom up. So the end user services that's built on 5G technology. No pressure, but this is our task, and I think we've come a long way. 5G coverage mapping. So we conducted a few workshops together with regulators to find a common ground for comparisons of coverage, quality of service. Currently, we're harmonizing data at the local level, so the municipality level on the population coverage of 5G network. Very important in this process is also what we're working on together with aligning this together with the EU institutions and the EU recommendations when it comes to coverage. Which indicators are relevant? Which indicators can we harmonize? Where can we find a common ground that's aligned with the EU recommendations, but are also relevant in each and every of the countries? 5G innovation landscaping. Understanding the whole ecosystem, not only the testing activities, but also the applications. Just quickly show some results from the survey. So 178 activities related to 5G are mapped. 135 of those are use cases, and 47 test beds and innovation hubs across the region. Covering all Nordic Baltic countries. Also, one use case in Åland, and we also have Faroe Islands covered. The next graph you see here is colors by development stage. So we wanted to know at what stage are these processes right now. So the blue you see is the conceptual research, the orange testing, prototyping, and the red is the applications that are actually deployed now. Looking at the division by country, yes. So yeah, here we go. So dividing this into countries, you can see a pretty uneven development here. Although, must say, of course, this is better than a sample, but it's by no means a full coverage of what's going on. And here we present a model for gathering the data, which we believe in, and we're hoping that this could be a useful tool to map the landscape. But as we can see, there's an uneven process and an uneven progress here among these countries. We also wanted to see what technology does these applications build on. Is it 5G and beyond, or is it an earlier generation of mobile technology? As you can see, a lot of them is now implemented on 4G, but going for 5G. But quite a lot of them are also already built on 5G technology. We also wanted to find out what type of innovation mechanism these innovations, these use cases can be characterized. So are these applications that will present some incremental change, like a more of incremental gradual change, or is it a radical change that this use case application can provide? So those are the parameters we categorize these use cases. Everything is integrated to a platform. So we have a web platform where we integrate all the data, where you could have some snippet information on each of the case along these categorizations. And hopefully we can build on to more cases in this platform, but hopefully you find it interesting to also browse around and figure out what's going on in your countries and the region as a whole. The blue dots here in the mapping are the test beds and the innovation hubs, and the red dots are applications, use cases. Dividing them to our understanding of the verticals, the most important verticals in the Nordic Baltic region gives a good overview of the activities right now, with transport being the most important vertical at the moment. I also want to promote the next step in this project, where we are organizing a series of events for matchmaking, identifying these actors, these front-runner actors, connecting them with peers that want to learn, that want to implement this same technology, connecting within verticals across countries. And this is a series of online events that we're hosting during next year. So if you want to tap onto that, please use this QR code and follow us. Soon we will also have a website publicly. We have a website that we will deploy sometime before Christmas that you might find interesting too, with the mapping platform. That was my last slide. And I'll leave back over to Stefan.
Thank you, Oscar, for that presentation. Now it's time to fill the stage with a panel consisting of a group of prominent experts, namely Elina Lidere from Latvian Telco, LTM, please. Markku Niemi from Business Tampere, Finland. Annika Svensson from Luleå Technical University, Sweden. And last but not least, to lead this panel discussion on Nordic Baltic cooperation, I have the honor to give the floor to Heidi Himanen, who is Chief Specialist of the Finnish National Telecommunication Agency, Traficom, and also the Finnish representative in the Nordic Baltic 5G expert group. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So welcome to this panel discussion on 5G applications in public services. And especially we are going to discuss the cross-border collaboration in the Nordic and Baltic countries. So we will first hear a few words from each of our panelists, and then we will jump into the discussion. And the first introductory words will be given to us by Annika Svensson from Luleå. So her presentation is about the Luleå Technical University testbed examples, 5G innovation in sparsely populated areas, and cross-border collaboration insights.
Thank you, Heidi. I'm really happy to be here in Riga to present to you guys about what we're doing in Luleå University of Technology. Luleå is the northernmost university in Sweden, and on the left-hand side of the slide you will see where Luleå is located, but you will also see where our test beds are located. We have 6 different test beds in 4 different cities. So that leads us to the conclusion that we have several test beds in some of the cities. We have test beds at both our university sites in Luleå and in Skellefteå. We also have healthcare and welfare related test beds in Övertorneå, in an elderly care facility. We have one in an elderly care facility in Luleå, and we have one at an innovation hub in Skellefteå. It was meant to be an elderly care facility, but then a pandemic came in our way, so we had to replan that project part. And we, last but not least, we have one in a so-called mini hospital in Storuman in the mountain areas in a very sparsely populated area of Sweden as well. These test beds are open for any researcher, any company, large or small company, Swedish or non-Swedish company, to come and perform your 5G tests in. And they have been made possible by collaboration with different financiers, mostly with the European Regional Development Fund, and also with Interreg as well. Interreg North and now Interreg Aurora. And we also have a collaboration for innovation together with Vinnova. It's the Swedish innovation agency. That project is not specifically related to healthcare and welfare, it's related to the mining industry. But it brings together researchers from the university, researchers from Research Institute of Sweden, RISE, and large enterprises like Boliden, Ericsson, Telia, and also small and medium-sized enterprises who would like to do innovation within the area of 5G for mining. Coming back to what we do in the healthcare and welfare area then, as Heidi introduced, I would speak about. As I said, we have test beds in these areas. We have been looking at different applications, and it's open for the companies who would like to come and test in our test beds. And on the left-hand side of the slide, or on the right-hand side of the slide from your side, obviously, we have two examples of tests that are ongoing within our test beds. So one of these examples is Raytelligence. It's a radar sensor that is connected over 5G, and it's detected to detect vital parameters of the people in the room. And it's also detected in a way that if you would fall or if you would fall out of a wheelchair and lie on the floor, it would detect that something is not normal within that room. And then the staff of the elderly care facility or the home care staff would get an alarm in their phone, and they could go there and help you to get up from the floor and check that everything is okay. It saves an enormous amount of times in both healthcare facilities, hospitals, and elderly care facilities. You wouldn't imagine to see the number of hours spent just looking that everything is okay. And that time can be spent in better ways, giving better medical care, interacting with the patients in more than just sneaking in and looking everything is okay and going out. Maybe have time to sit down and have a chat with the people instead of just checking on them. So the experience from Särkevaragården in Övertorneå, where that is installed, is something now used in parallel with any normal system, is really, really promising. They are really keen on continuing to do these trials. And it's the setup, as you can see on the slide, is kind of complicated. Has to do with the fact that the sensors need power. So we have a power over Ethernet switch in between the 5G device and the actual sensor. Going down to the next thing, if you look in northern Sweden or in any rural or sparsely populated areas, the distance you have to travel to get expert care and medical care are enormous. And we have come across a spin-off company from Umeå University called Brain Stimulation. And Brain Stimulation, what they do is they have a stroke detection and stroke rehab tool in mixed reality. They used a Microsoft HoloLens. So if I was the patient and Heidi was my physical therapist, I would get my exercises in my HoloLens, and Heidi would be able to steer what exercises I would get, not being in the same room, not being in the same city even. And the reason to use 5G in this application is obvious. If you send this home with someone who had had a stroke and have a bit of a disability, you'd want the introduction and the use of the tool and the service to be hassle-free. It should be plug and play. And it will be in the future. And at the same time, Heidi has to be there to guide me having my stroke and through the exercises. And with the collection of a lot of data from the patients that use the tool and the introduction of artificial intelligence will enable the physical therapists and the medical staff to say that, okay, Annika, if you practice 2, 3, 4 times a day, I don't exactly know, I haven't had a stroke, so I don't know, and you do that for X number of months, you will be back in work to maybe 75%, so in 6 months or whatever. So it will be possible to give a forecast as to how quickly I can return to a normal life again. And if I would have to travel to Heidi every time I need to do my exercise, it wouldn't be 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, right? And it would take an enormous amount of resources from Heidi as a physical therapist. So having the introduction of 5G and using that in this tool is crucial for the success and for the equal distribution of care, irrespective of where you actually live. So this is a perfect example of how you can use that in the medical field as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Annika. Thank you for your introduction, and thank you for giving me new tasks.
Yeah. You're so skilled, so it's no problem for you, Heidi.
So let's go on from northern Sweden. We now come to Finland, to Tampere, and we have Markku Niemi from Business Tampere, who will give us an introduction of 5G as a cornerstone for smart cities, giving examples from Tampere Living Labs. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here. I will take you back to 2017. We were going through these kind of conferences, and it kind of became obvious that cities will have a big role in 5G deployment. And we started thinking that what we could do there to, get a feel on what the roles could be and what we could do. At the same time, Tampere, there is a quite large ecosystem of companies working on autonomous vehicles, remote-controlled machines, forest machines, mining machines, and so forth, and also smaller companies working on sensors and so forth, so supporting technologies. And in discussions with them, it became obvious that they also have a need for this kind of test area. And then obviously Nokia has a big R&D site in Tampere. So putting all these 3 things together, we decided that let's build a living lab area just in the city, one suburb of the city, close to the university, and that's what we did. Actually, it was a learning experience to all of us, how this kind of open living lab works, what kind of efforts city has to do to, enable, use of city resources. We were using the streetlight infrastructure, where the base stations were connected, and then Tampere has own fiber network, so we were using that as a backbone. And 2017, towards the end of 2017, when the network was ready, it was kind of pre-5G already. We could get into a millisecond level delays. You could remotely control machines. And it has been actually in very active use. We have been also testing autonomous vehicles as a part of normal public transportation system, and that gives us the connection to the citizens, how they feel about autonomous vehicles, which is I think one key 5G application potentially going forward. So it's about technology, business models, and then social aspects, citizen engagement, getting rid of some of the fears they might have, for example, autonomous vehicles. So that's one example. And now, because the results were quite good, we are kind of building on that experience And some of you maybe know that we have a brand new ice hockey arena just in the downtown. We were hosting the Ice Hockey World Championships last year, and we actually will be hosting again next year together with Riga. So there's a connection also to this event, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, probably, because we have been thinking about doing something together for the ice hockey games next year in context of 5G also. So, but I will not tell more about that yet because it's a little bit secret. Anyway, so now we are building this kind of millimeter wave network to the arena, or together with Nokia. And that, of course, opens again new possibilities. So when you get gigabit level uplink speeds, you can have 360 cameras, virtual presence, whatever. For example, the medical applications might need that kind of data rates, and that's one thing we have been also thinking about. So that's in making, and let's see whether we get pre-6G happening soon.
Great, thank you, Marco. And this was an invitation to the World Championships of Ice Hockey also, either to Riga or Tampere. Yes, we have, the cities are clearly drivers of the public sector 5G services and public services. The next speaker is Elina Lindere from LMT Innovations. And we met with Elina already the last time I was physically to 5G Techritory. So that was the second 5G Techritory. Then discussing drones, I think. Yeah. But now you will tell us about about creating connected and data-driven cities. So the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. We also have really a lot of test sites here in Latvia, and we work a lot already around 6 years on R&D for 5G, finding new solutions. We have our also IT team, so we are not anymore only the mobile operators already. But today I'm bringing you two use cases more closer to the citizens and public services. The one is also a great example how we here in Latvia could collaborate and using innovation ecosystem strengths here locally, because we as an operator were looking for new sensors, what to provide for our customers. It was actually a hard task at that time because there was lots of shiny, interesting stuff, but from security or usability side, not maybe so convenient or safe. So we found a great partnership with a local wireless device producer, Microtech, and developed together with them the smoke detector and air quality sensor, which is already now this year in the market for our customers, and that is innovative in a way because it is using the great functionality of new IoT networks, the narrowband and LTM networks, which allows really work on low power and use the same battery really for a long time without charging. And that the plan is also to set up an ecosystem also for a sensor, because for now it is alarming you if there is a fire threat, and also your neighbors, which you provide in the application. But we work also with firefighters, and in the future we hope that it will, if no one will respond, it could also call the firefighters, and it could hopefully save lots of lives in the future as well. The other example is for a traffic monitoring tool, which we also, our IT developers are building up as a platform. And first ones with red light detections are already on streets here in Latvia. And they are like also the innovative approach, because at the beginning we couldn't get the information from a traffic light. So we found that actually with a computer vision you can solve lots of things. So we added the camera in front of a traffic light, which actually monitors the traffic light and detects if also the cars and if they are passing on red lights. And I was really surprised how many people here in Latvia drive on red light. But in the future, it's really like we see lots of opportunities around, also for public transport, organizing all the traffic more efficient, hopefully with less traffic jams, and maybe also some specific tools like with a green light for cars from hospital or police. And yes, those are just two examples. We work really, as you told, on drone innovations as well, and also on public safety things and IoT and mobility, lots of other solutions as well.
Thank you, Elina. Thank you very much. So don't drive against the red light here in Riga. Then Elina will get an alarm, I think.
It's actually, in ways, they are also included our traffic monitoring tools, so it is alarming already that it will be red light camera on the way.
Okay, very good. So now I would like to ask you about what you think about these presentations, each other's examples. Can you give some reflections on the other speakers' presentations? Annika, please.
Yeah, I was really interested to hear that you guys are setting up the millimeter wave network in Tampere for the World Cup. Yep. We are looking into the millimeter wave area ourselves, and that is really, really interesting to hear. And we might find a possibility to collaborate.
Absolutely.
We'll have to discuss that afterwards. So
absolutely, yes.
That is something I took with me from your presentation. Yep. And also about the innovation that you were talking about and trying to find the real examples and the real sensors and the struggles that there is in there. I mean, the device side for 5G is still kind of complicated. That is at least something that we have discovered. So.
Okay, so we have now already some Nordic Baltic cross-border collaboration here established, as you were going now to collaborate between Luleå and Tampere, I guess,
yeah,
the millimeter wave bands. This is how you do it. You just connect people, and then they are interested of each other's ideas. So what about you, Markku? What's your reflections on the presentations?
I think one takeaway for me is that you shouldn't take the connectivity for granted. It's kind of foundation for everything, and in Finland at least we have been used to having very good connections, and you kind of take it for granted. But it's not like that, and you should invest and develop things further. When you have more capacity, smaller delay, you have new applications. It opens up totally new possibilities, as was discussed here, the healthcare sector or traffic monitoring or whatever. We don't even know everything, but you have to have the foundation in good shape.
That's true, and somebody built all these systems that you are now discussing here. Sometimes we take it for granted that we have the connectivity. Yeah, at least in Finland we do. But I guess in northern Sweden, we discussed this in the lunch. It's not so.
No, we have really good coverage and really good mobile connectivity, but there is a real worry from the public with the demounting of 2G and 3G as we discussed. Yeah. And will we have 5G? I mean, I talked to my neighbors in a small village and they're like, well, 5G will never come here. And I said, sure it will, because we know that the operators are preparing from that, but it's not there yet. Yeah. So I think that is, as you say, we need the highways first, and we need also to speak about the possibilities with 5G to get more large and small and medium-sized enterprises interested in doing innovation in this area. Because unless you know they are there, you could think about just about anything, but you couldn't try it and you couldn't sort of get it really the concept into your head. So I think we have both the municipalities, but the universities and research organizations and the operators, we have an important role to spread the word. and talk about 5G and talk about the opportunities and the possibilities and invite everyone to come and try.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Elina? What do you think about, for example, the city solutions and the trials they do in Tampere, as you were also discussing the smart city solutions?
Yeah, that was really interesting, and as everyone here mentioned at the test sites, I think that is a great example and also shows the great knowledge we learned quite early. That's why maybe we succeed also in lots of our innovations, is that the 5G thing will not be only about the connectivity and fast speed, of course. There will be need for new services, for new industry solutions, and that is exactly what is needed for now to work on, and that's why those also test sites and also information about the sharing, this monitoring tool could help us actually to know about each other and share the knowledge and bring those opportunities faster to our region, because this is the Nordic and Baltic countries are really also from OECD data the most heavier users of mobile internet. Like Finland is the first and Latvia is a proud second place for many years. Yes. And yes, I think this is the great that we need to strengthen our knowledge and share also to others, show the possibilities.
Okay, good. So this is like encouraging for all us who is working also with the Nordic Baltic monitoring tool, that we need to share information to find new collaboration. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit still about the benefits for society. What do you can you give some examples? What can 5G offer to public services in the Nordic and Baltic countries? What are the real benefits for society? Yes, go on.
I think it is about efficiency of public services. At least in Finland, we have a big issue with the social system costs going up, and I think technology, 5G, and these services, new services, can help that a big deal. Mm-hmm. In Tampere specifically, as Maiju was explaining the previous panel, we are growing very fast compared to the size we are, and that creates us a service problem overall. So people coming in are looking for job. They are students. They are not taxpayers immediately, but they need services. So we have this gap, and we try to close that gap by being smart, offering services in a digital way, and so forth. And I think that's one view.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you try to tackle the fast growth with technology and getting that to help and solve problems. Yes. Any other reflections?
I was
Annika?
thinking that 5G also introduces the possibility of more efficient use of spectrum. I mean, spectrum is a natural resource, just as iron ore or hydropower or whatever. And it's a more efficient way of using the spectrum, because there is the spectrum, there is and nothing more. So I think that is a possibility to increase the services to the public sector as well. And as I said in my introduction, the equality and the bridging that digital divide and having the opportunity to live longer in your home and not go into an elderly care facility, have the opportunity to get that equal right to medical treatment, respectful of the people in Storuman. They have 245, I think, kilometers to the university hospital in Umeå. There is one in Lycksele, 100 kilometers away, and that is if you live in the center of Storuman. If you live further to the mountain areas, it's even longer distance. So just imagine that you can actually get that in your house and not have to travel. Look at the societal gains of that. You don't have to be away from work. Your kids can be at the kindergarten, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of things to draw on that.
Yes, thank you. That was very clear benefits for sparsely populated areas. Yes, yes, Elina.
Yes, I can add, of course, straight away for people already is lots of sensors for household or work or entertainment. Also those AR, VR things in the metaverse and so on. But I think the huge benefits will come a little bit later because there are a lot of work with public services need to be done, and also in industry those services, because they need to implement and really like huge solutions like traffic monitoring tool I explained and other similar solutions, which in the end of course will be using also all the people in the cities and the countries and benefit in a way, maybe not really like buying gadgets, but really saving lives and getting more services more easily and so on.
Yeah. And you mentioned these automatic driving or self-driving vehicles. We're actually conducting an experiments together with Ericsson at the university in Luleå. They are trying out a new feature which is not specified completely and according to all the protocols yet, but it's called low latency, low loss scalable throughput. And what it does is you can actually grant or give free way for the latency or for the throughput for a specific service. And it's demonstrated by a car which you drive via 5G. It's not a radio-driven control car like my kids had when they were small, but it's driven over 5G. And my kids who are teenagers, they say, that is great for gaming. But I don't think that is Ericsson's game plan. I think their plan is more like if you have a mine where the conditions are really dangerous and you have an area where there might be dropping rocks from the ceiling, or you have the gas when you have made an explosion or blown up things in the mine, you have to wait and ventilate, but the car doesn't have to wait. You can go in there and start working. And the difference from driving it over 5G and to switch this functionality on it's considerable. If you have just 5G, you will accidentally hit the wall every now and there, and otherwise it feels like you're actually behind the wheel like a normal car. And that is something, remote controlled vehicles for dangerous areas or for any area is something which will, I think, will also promote equality. It will make it easier to get people to work in these kind of industries as well. So.
Yeah, you're right. We can make machines go to those places that are dangerous for people. So vehicles, drones, robots.
Exactly.
We had there is one example from Helsinki with a robot treating corona patients in the intensive care, not having to. The nurses don't need all the time to put on the protection clothes and disinfection, but you can use the robot. So solving real life problems.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you saw from the statistics that Oscar showed, that there was actually, which are the most interesting verticals or where it's happening now, there was transport, smart cities, then education and healthcare. These are all very closely related. These are public services, most of them. So in the beginning of 5G, I remember we talked about the industries, the harbors, and now we are actually the top applications are, or most of the applications are in the public sector, but it's kind of a diverse area. So we have the transport, and then we have the healthcare, and many different kinds of needs, I think.
But I think the learnings from one sector is easily transferable to another one.
Yeah.
We have, for example, one company that developed the world's first 5G connected hand sanitizer dispenser. And you might laugh, why on earth do you need 5G connection to a hand sanitizer dispenser? I mean,
why do you?
Yeah, why do you? It's not a lot of data, and it's not, time critical, etc. But the thing is, this company also develops rock bolts, connected rock bolts for mines, to detect settings in the mountain. And they wanted to try this out and see if their sensors could work over 5G and get real-time data. So they now have that from the hand sanitizer dispenser, and they were really eager to tell us, please don't tell anyone that we would go into that line of business, because we aren't. So, but anyway, they got the learning. So sensors for one area can be used in other areas. So, yeah, it's connected.
That's
all of
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly. We also find out that at the beginning we had a separate innovation verticals like public safety and drones and transportation and IoT. And at the end they are really like merging a lot because all those things are actually in all the areas used and can benefit.
You're so right. I work with transport automation and trying to tell my colleagues in the transport sector that there is not so big differences between the different modes of transport, between aviation and maritime and road and railway. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about a little bit about the differences of our countries and how we maybe can gain from collaboration. So what do you think are the differences when you look at 5G and public services? And then what are the success factors in building partnerships and collaboration in 5G? Any reflections on this?
Yeah, I think one thing that we discovered in the Arctic 5G test network project is that we work with University of Oulu, and they run their own test network with their own frequencies run by the university, whereas we collaborate with Telia and Ericsson, who run our test networks. And the difference and the challenges with connecting these two test beds and how we would possibly go about it. So we learn a lot from each other, and we are now looking at if we should apply for our own spectrum because when the public 5G networks are rolled out, we would have to close down the outdoor cell otherwise, and we would still like to keep the test networks open. There is still room for test networks even if you have commercial 5G networks. So.
That's true. I was waiting when you're going to describe about the collaboration you are doing with Oulu, University of Oulu, because you have a real cross-border collaboration between universities there. And
yeah, we do that, and we now have just last week we were awarded an Interreg Aurora project for 6G together with University of Oulu and Lapin University of Lapland. Applied Sciences, okay. That is the name, in Rovaniemi. Yeah. So we have a real collaboration with them in this area, and I think it's very rewarding. We learn a lot. And today, some colleagues from Åbo are visiting in Åbo Academy, are visiting in Luleå, visiting my colleagues to discuss cross-border collaboration as well. So, and we discuss collaboration with Norway as well in the battery belt, so to speak. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Great. I think you should apply for your own spectrum license.
Yeah, we are thinking of that because we're thinking it would add something to the mobile operator as well. They still want to be able to send someone to try services where you can have a controlled area and controlled latency and controlled access to bandwidth and so on and so forth. Because that is called for when you want to develop new services and products. So, yeah, we're considering it.
What about you, Elina? Are you involved in cross-border collaborations?
We actually have cross-border test site here in Latvia for mobility, because we set it up 5G network for ourselves in a racing track here in Riga, and also the Estonian 5G network. So especially for cross-border tests and demonstrations to develop all sorts of new solutions. And I think that for us, the great opportunity for collaboration also between the Nordic and Baltic states is those EU Horizon projects and also European Defence Fund, where we learned a lot and got really great new partners and all those options also to get knowledge from other partners and set up test beds which are used also for other countries here in Latvia.
So it's on the research side that you are collaborating mostly, and trials?
Yeah, for now, yes. Yeah. We have actually, like for example, on computer vision, I'm of a startup also with whom we collaborate on solutions for clients as well.
Yeah.
But the huge things are also happening on R&D side as well.
Yes, okay, very interesting. Yeah, Markku?
Yeah, we have a lot of cooperation with Aarhus, which is kind of similar to Tampere, kind of the second city, university city in Denmark, and also Stavanger in Sweden with Stockholm. So it's, I think it's quite natural. And you asked about the differences, but
Yes.
I think there are actually not that much differences. I feel it's quite easy to work with the Nordic region countries and universities and so forth. So it's kind of similar backgrounds, and it's kind of easy going in my opinion. So I think what has been kind of slowing down things obviously is the COVID. So sometimes starting new things requires that you meet in person and discuss and build the trust, and that's not so easy to do virtually. So I think that's small practical slowdown here, but hopefully
now it's
behind
better.
us soon. Yeah,
Now it's better, yeah. Okay, so you have collaboration with Aarhus in Denmark, Stavanger in Norway, and Stockholm in Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And did you try to find like similar cities? So you want to find the similarities, or how did you end up doing this collaboration?
I think we didn't plan it that way, but it kind of maybe it's natural that you find common interests with the cities that have similar, are in a similar situation, have similar problems and so forth. So
Okay, yeah.
it's also about personal connections. So, for example, with Aarhus, we happen to have some personal links there for a long time. So kind of
But it's an interesting point how you find the partners. Maybe through that one tool as well. But
I think these kind of events are also a good way to build new ones, new links.
I'm sure, because you mentioned the personal networks and relationships. So you really, if you know somebody who is doing, then you can connect. And of course, these events are now very important for that. Okay. I still want to dig into this collaboration because, as you asked, it's very interesting how you find the partners. So, what do you think are then the barriers and limitations for further collaboration, except COVID, because that's maybe now tackled the worst of it? So can you describe if you have found some barriers for the collaboration, because we want, of course, to tear those down. Do you have any?
For us, it's usually that there are so many things, and that is the first problem usually, and it's really like to find which one is really more urgent and with the greatest potential actually to develop. And I think also the thing that maybe sometimes you even don't know so many things which are actually going all around, and you do by yourself or something. There's not so easy accessible actually also information about everything.
So, okay, more information about what's ongoing. Even if we have these events, and then we will have the tools, but really sharing information and getting to know people seems to be the key.
And also initiatives, like I also told about the EU Horizon funds, which actually also asks from different countries to cooperate together. That also helps, also bring partnerships, because you need to search for partners anyway.
Yeah, the financing system is such that it's encouraging collaboration. Yes, very good. Yeah, do you see barriers or challenges?
No barriers. I was thinking that the connection, Tampere connection to Riga and to this event happened via Nokia, our cooperation with Nokia. So this ecosystem network and discussions there is important. I think it doesn't have to be city to city or so forth. It can be this kind of common interests. Also with the private sector, and
I think you're correct, because it might be that the best organization to collaborate with is not your neighbor. It might be someone else. So it might not even be that we get to cooperate with Tampere city, but you might know someone that you would pass us on to, and vice versa.
Exactly.
So I think that is, as you say, I agree.
So if you have some final reflections, you can share them now. I think we had discussed a lot about the public services and the cross-border collaboration. Any last advertisements for your work? Something like that? What do you want to say?
Not
Annika?
more than that we are always looking for collaboration and looking for new projects to run together, and we are really interested in the triple or quadruple helix, where the universities, large and small enterprises, etc., come together in projects. So we would really encourage anyone who has any kind of ideas to get in touch with us at Luleå University of Technology. We are really interested in finding those partnerships.
And I think you are also helping companies to find,
Yeah,
to
we work
connect
a lot with
to each other.
That is true. We're working a lot with ecosystems where it might be so that we know someone who could have the use of cooperating with someone else, and we cross-connect them. So we work a lot with ecosystem development within the region mostly, but also as we are out and scouting in different events like this ones and in other industries as well. We might find a connection, we bring that home to our SMEs or large enterprises in the region, and we put them in touch and help them out. So we're kind of the oil in the machinery. So we work, as a university, we work really close with the companies in the region, which might be a bit unusual. We do a lot of applied research, but we also do a lot of support of the ecosystem in different areas, both in the 5G area and in the data center area.
Yeah, and in Finland we have this ecosystem collaboration called 5G Momentum that is coordinated by Traficom, so our agency. So if you want to get in contact with Finnish companies, you can always also contact me. What about you, Markku?
I would go back to the service discussion we had in the beginning. I think typically people underestimate the long-term development, but overestimate what happens in the short term, and we should keep the eye on the long term. I'm a great believer in XR, VR, and these 360 things. They will happen. They will maybe take a little bit time. It requires that the glasses will, make one evolution on form factor side, and you have the networks, but things will happen. So you need to be patient and keep developing things. I remember I was working for Nokia, and we started discussion about putting camera in the phone, and people saying that you are crazy, nobody will.
Yeah.
The quality is shitty and nobody will use it. And, well, in the beginning it was so, but nowadays it's not so.
Yeah, I was also told when we tried to put a TV in the mobile phone that nobody will want to watch TV from the mobile phone. Yeah. Here we are.
It's change.
Yeah. Okay. And Elina, any final comments from you?
Yes, as ecosystem lead from my company, I also want to emphasize the ecosystem thing, that is really important, because for 5G it is like open innovation time, because you cannot do it all alone. There need to be lots of actually expertise in different areas, so that's why it's really important to bring stakeholders from different sectors, academics, policymakers and industry all together, and it's great that here in 5G Techritory we can do that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. So we are looking forward to all this collaboration, and thank you, Markku, also for believing in the future technologies. It's comfortable hearing that when working with 6G, as I am, when some people might say we don't need that. But it takes some time and work and effort and collaboration. Thank you very much to the panelists, and thank you very much to the Nordic Council of Ministers and to Nordregio, and thank you to our audience, and let's give some applause to our panelists.